So let's talk about all these images appearing over the internet referring to different balances that they have after a liver transplant. They all seem to hover around $390,000. So maybe that's just a interesting coinky-dink, or maybe that's really the price. But they're all claiming that even after insurance, that's what they're left to pay. And I think even if that's the case, it's perfectly fine.
Well, I mean, I have to disagree with that because if I remember correctly, someone's choosing to donate their liver. So it's not like the hospital really needs to charge 389,000. That's a steep one. That's a very steep number. I mean, oh, congratulations, you get a new liver. Now you're going to be working for the rest of your life to pay for it. That's ridiculous.
Well, we're looking at it the wrong way. So I will grant you this: they shouldn't charge you for the liver itself since they got it for free. But everything else they can charge for, right? They have to harvest the liver, they have to store the liver, they have to transport the liver, they have to install the liver, then they have to take care of you after the fact. So, okay, the liver itself they shouldn't be charging you for, and I don't think they are. It's just that everything else is so expensive that everybody's imagining that they're charging you for the liver. However, the way that you should look at this. See, the problem is that everybody looks at healthcare as if it's an entitlement, right? It's because you were born human, you're entitled to have access to top of the line medical care anywhere in the world, no matter what happens to you, just because humans are supposed to care about each other. But that's not the way it works. Animals don't get that benefit, and humans don't get that benefit either. We have to pay for anything that we get, and if we can't afford it, we don't get it, and that includes food, right? So one of the arguments is that if you don't get the healthcare thing, you could die, but if you don't get food, you could die also. And people die all the time from lack of food or clean water or shelter or good driving. But the way to look at this is that you should just be glad that this is even an option, right? You should look at it like an extra life in a video game. It's like you do something dumb in the video game, and then it's like do 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 do, and then it's just like ding, and then you come back, and it costs you $390,000. But have you looked around lately? If you own anything, a little tiny studio apartment, a shack somewhere, whatever, every property is $500,000 or more. So you could just sell that. You'll still walk away with 100 grand, and then you can just rent a place until you stack up cash, or there's some sort of a collapse, and you can buy another place. But you got basically a plus one life for a fraction of what your home was worth, and you can still enjoy your life without being in debt.
No, everything you just said, absolute bullshit. First off, that liver was that price when homes were cheaper. One of the photos I saw was from 2016. So it's always been that expensive. First. Second, it's 5 to 7 thousand to have yourself cut open and silicone shoved in there and then sewn up. So at the end of the day, 398,000 is a little bit too expensive. I'd like to see the breakdown for that because I think that is highway robbery at this point. At this point, I would like to see what is the cost that makes it that much. Because if surgery is cheaper for everyone else and every other type of surgery, how much is it for a heart to be put in? How much is it for brain neurosurgery? All of that. Because I think this is a little bit too high. Like 398,000, that's a steep fee. And then don't even get me started on the corrupt insurance company that says, oh, it's fine. We'll pay $2,000 towards it because we're darlings. So, no, the whole thing makes no sense. If you can show me the fee. But before that, you also said something that people aren't really considering all the maintenance that takes place afterwards and everything. But that's incorrect too, because you know as well as I do that that's a separate charge. They don't. It's not 398,000, and then we'll take care of it for the lifetime. No, you're coming in every time something goes wrong, every time you need antibiotics, every time your body is trying to fight against it, and you have to take these pills. Those are all separate charges. So if they're saying it's 398,000, then they've got to say that, okay, to extract the liver from one person, then to store it, and then to put it inside you, That's what's 398,000. Nah, they gotta explain that because I don't think the number makes sense, and I really do think it's time we start at least getting a bill for everything. We need to know an itemized bill. What costs what? Because at this point, and it's just like taxes, we're just throwing money into this hole and we're assuming, oh, they have our best interest at heart. It's just the cost of the thing multiplied by the profit that they want, which may be 200 or 300%, or 10 or 20,000%, which is what this seems like. But we really need to dig deep into this because it does seem like it's people's lives and they're just holding it hostage. And we wouldn't be okay with it if the mafia put a gun to your head and said, hey, give me 400,000. So I'm sure as hell not okay with it when the hospital puts a gun to your head and says, "Hey, give me 400,000." That's just not okay.
Oh, don't worry. They'll send you bills. And it's totally different than the mafia, right? The mafia is going to cause the problem, whereas the hospital is just charging you to fix the problem. And look here, you're talking about that this was in the past. No, I'm seeing this exact same bill here, April 19th, 2022. And with inflation, now you found a benefit for Biden's inflation because it'll help you pay for your liver transplant by selling your house. And then the itemizations and seeing what everything is. Look, when I go to the hospital, I pay $40 for a little cup of Jello. It's nothing new. They have to charge you large amounts for things that seem trivial to cover some of the other things that aren't being paid for, like when you've got illegals going to the hospital and using the emergency room as if it's a primary care physician. Who's paying for that, right? The hospital is forced by law to help anyone who shows up at the emergency room. So somebody's got to pay for that, and it's going to be you with your liver transplant. And then you're talking about brain surgery and everything else, and those are high prices too. Why are they high prices? Because you're forced into it, and it's high risk for the hospital as well. If they mess up on any of those procedures, then they're going to be sued, and maybe their malpractice insurance isn't going to cover the full amount. But here's the true reason why the liver transplant specifically is the popular one on the internet and why it costs so much in relation to most other procedures. It's because what is the liver? It is the consumable for people's most favorite pastime, alcoholism.